Italy is a country in southern and western Europe. It consists of a peninsula that extends into Mediterranean Sea with the Alps on its northern land border as well as islands, notably Sicily and Sardinia. Italy shares its borders with France, Switzerland, Austria, Slovenia, and two enclaves, Vatican City and San Marino. It is the 10th largest country in Europe by area, covering 301,340 kilometers, and third most populous member state of the European Union with a population of nearly 60 million. Its capital and largest city is Rome. Other major urban areas include Milan, Naples, Turin, Florence, and Venice. In antiquity, Italy was home to numerous peoples. The city of Rome, founded as a kingdom, became a republic that conquered the Mediterranean world and ruled it for centuries as an empire. With the spread of Christianity, Rome became the seat of Catholic Church and papacy. During the early Middle Ages, Italy experienced the fall of the Western Roman Empire and inward migration from Germanic tribes. By the 11th century, Italian city-states and maritime republics expanded, bringing renewed prosperity through commerce and laying the groundwork for modern capitalism. The Italian Renaissance flourished during the 15th and 16th centuries and spread to the rest of Europe. Italian explorers discovered new routes to the Far East and the New World, leading European age of discovery. However, centuries of rivalry and infighting between city-states left the peninsula divided. During the 17th and 18th centuries, Italian economic importance waned significantly. After centuries of political and territorial divisions, Italy was almost entirely unified in 1861, following wars of independence and expedition of Thousand, establishing the Kingdom of Italy. From late 19th to early 20th century, Italy rapidly industrialized, mainly in the north, and acquired a colonial empire while the south remained largely impoverished, fueling a large immigrant diaspora to the Americas. From 1915 to 1918, Italy took part in World War I with the Entente against Central Powers. In 1922, Italian fascist dictatorship was established. During World War II, Italy was first part of the Axis until its surrender to the Allied powers, 1940 to 1943, then a co-belligerent of the Allies during the Italian resistance and the liberation of Italy, 1943 to 1945. Following the war, the monarchy was replaced by a republic and the country enjoyed a strong recovery. A developed country, Italy has the 9th largest nominal GDP in the world, the 2nd largest manufacturing industry in Europe, and plays a significant role in regional and global economic, military, cultural, and diplomatic affairs. Italy is a founding and leading member of the European Union and is part of numerous international institutions including NATO, the G7 and G20, the Latin Union, and the Union for the Mediterranean. As a cultural superpower, Italy has long been a renowned center of art, music, literature, cuisine, fashion, science, and technology, and the source of multiple inventions and discoveries. It has the world's highest number of World Heritage Sites and is the 5th most visited country. Prehistory. The ancient peoples of pre-Roman Italy were Indo-European, specifically the Italic peoples. The main historic peoples of possible non-Indo-European or pre-Indo-European heritage include Etruscans, Illyriots, and Sicani of Sicily and prehistoric Sardinians who gave birth to Nuragic civilization. Other ancient populations include Rhaetian people and Comuni, known for their rock drawings in Val Camonica. A natural mummy, Otzi, dated 3400 to 3100 BC was discovered in the Cimolorn Glacier in 1991. Ancient Rome. Ancient Rome, a settlement on River Tiber in central Italy, founded in 753 BC, was ruled for 244 years by a monarchical system. In 509 BC, the Romans, favoring a government of the Senate and the people, expelled the monarchy and established an oligarchic republic. The Italian peninsula, named Italia, was consolidated into a unified entity during Roman expansion. Conquest of new territories at the expense of other Italic tribes, Etruscans, Celts, and Greeks. A permanent association with most of the local tribes and cities was formed. Rome began to conquest Western Europe, North Africa, and Middle East. In the wake of Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, Rome grew into a massive empire stretching from Britain to the borders of Persia, engulfing whole Mediterranean basin in which Greek, Roman, and other cultures merged into a powerful civilization. The long reign of the first emperor, Augustus, began an age of peace and prosperity. Roman Italy remained the metropole of the empire, homeland of the Romans and territory of the capital. The Roman Empire was among the largest in history, wielding great economical, cultural, political, and military power. At its greatest extent, it had an area of 5 million square kilometers. The widespread use of Romance languages derived from Latin, numerical system, modern Western alphabet and calendar, and the emergence of Christianity as a world religion are among the many legacies of Roman dominance. World War II. Italy entered World War II on the 10th of June 1940. At different times, Italians advanced in British Somaliland, Egypt, Balkans, and Eastern fronts. They were, however, defeated on the Eastern Front as well as in the East African and North African campaigns, losing their territories in Africa and the Balkans. An Allied invasion of Sicily began in July 1943, leading to the collapse of fascist regime on the 25th of July. Mussolini was deposed and arrested by order of King Victor Emmanuel III. On the 8th of September, Italy signed the Armistice of Cassibile, ending its war with the Allies. The Germans, with the assistance of Italian fascists, succeeded in taking control of north and central Italy. The country remained a battlefield, with the Allies moving up from the south. In the north, the Germans set up Italian Social Republic, a Nazi puppet state and collaborationist regime with Mussolini installed as leader after he was rescued by German paratroopers. What remained of the Italian troops was organized into the Italian co-belligerent army, which fought alongside the Allies, while other Italian forces, loyal to Mussolini, opted to fight alongside the Germans in the National Republican Army. The post-armistice period saw the emergence of the Italian resistance, who fought a guerrilla war against the Nazi German occupiers and collaborators. In April 1945, with defeat looming, Mussolini attempted to escape north but was captured and summarily executed by partisans. Hostilities ended on the 29th of April 1945, when the German forces in Italy surrendered. Nearly 500,000 Italians died in the conflict. The aftermath left Italy angry with the monarchy for its endorsement of the fascist regime, contributing to a revival of Italian republicanism. Republic. Italy became a republic after the 1946 Italian institutional referendum held on the 2nd of June, a day celebrated since as Festa della Repubblica. With more than 155,000 victims, Italy was one of the countries with the most deaths in COVID-19 pandemic and one of the most affected economically. In February 2021, after a government crisis, Conte resigned. Mario Draghi, former president of European Central Bank, formed a national unity government supported by most main parties, pledging to implement an economic stimulus to face the crisis caused by the pandemic. In 2022, Giorgia Meloni was sworn in as Italy's first female prime minister. Geography. Italy, whose territory coincides with eponymous geographical region, is located in southern Europe and part of Western Europe, between latitudes 35 degrees and 47 degrees north, and longitudes 6 degrees and 19 degrees east. To the north, from west to east, Italy borders France, Switzerland, Austria, and Slovenia, and is delimited by Alpine watershed, enclosing Po Valley and Venetian Plain. It consists of the entirety of Italian peninsula, Sicily and Sardinia, the biggest islands of the Mediterranean, and many smaller islands. Some of Italy's territory extends beyond the Alpine basin, and some islands are located outside the Eurasian continental shelf. The country's area is 301,230 square kilometers, of which 294,020 kilometers square is land and 7,210 kilometers square is water. Including the islands, Italy has a coastline of 7,600 kilometers on the Mediterranean Sea, Ligurian and Tyrrhenian Seas, the Ionian Sea and the Adriatic Sea. The sovereign states of San Marino and Vatican City, the smallest country in the world and headquarters of the worldwide Catholic Church under the governance of the Holy See, are enclaves within Italy, while Campione d'Italia is an Italian exclave in Switzerland. Over 35% of Italian territory is mountainous. The Apennine Mountains form the peninsula's backbone, and the Alps form most of its northern boundary, where Italy's highest point is located on the summit of Mont Blanc, Monte Bianco, at 4,810 meters. Other well-known mountains include Matterhorn, Monte Cervino, in the Western Alps, and the Dolomites in the Eastern Alps. Many parts of Italy are of volcanic origin. Most small islands and archipelagos in the south are volcanic islands. Active volcanoes include Mount Etna in Sicily, the largest in Europe, Volcano, Stromboli, and Vesuvius. Most rivers of Italy drain into Adriatic or Tyrrhenian Sea. The longest is the Po, which flows from the Alps on the western border and crosses the Padan Plain to the Adriatic. The Po Valley is the largest plain with 46,000 kilometers and contains over 70% of the country's lowlands. The largest lakes are Garda, Maggiore, and Como. Climate. The climate is influenced by the seas surrounding Italy on every side except the north, constituting a reservoir of heat and humidity. Because of the length of the peninsula and mostly mountainous hinterland, the climate is highly diverse. In most inland northern and central regions, the climate ranges from humid subtropical to humid continental and oceanic. The Po Valley is humid, mainly subtropical, with cool winters and hot summers. The coastal areas of Liguria, Tuscany, and most of the south generally fit the Mediterranean climate stereotype, as in the Köppen climate classification. Conditions on the coast are different from those in the interior, particularly during winter when the higher altitudes tend to be cold, wet, and often snowy. The coastal regions have mild winters and hot, dry summers. Lowland valleys are hot in summer. Winter temperatures vary from 0 degrees Celsius in the Alps to 12 degrees Celsius in Sicily. Winters can vary widely, with lingering cold, foggy, and snowy periods in the north and milder, sunnier conditions in the south. Summers are hot across the country except at high altitude, particularly in the south. Northern and central areas can experience strong thunderstorms from spring to autumn. Biodiversity. Italy's varied geography, including the Alps, Apennines, central Italian woodlands, and southern Italian garrigue and marquee shrubland, contribute to habitat diversity. As the peninsula is in the center of the Mediterranean, forming a corridor between Central Europe and North Africa, and having 8,000 kilometers coastline, Italy received species from the Balkans, Eurasia, and Middle East. The fauna of Italy includes 4,777 endemic animal species, which include the Sardinian long-eared bat, Sardinian red deer, spectacled salamander, brown cave salamander, Italian newt, Italian frog, Apennine yellow-bellied toad, Italian wall lizard, and Sicilian pond turtle. There are 119 mammal species, 550 bird species, 69 reptile species, 39 amphibian species, 623 fish species, and 56,213 invertebrate species, of which 37,303 are insect species. The flora of Italy estimated about 5,500 vascular plant species. Italy has 1,371 endemic plant species and subspecies, which include Sicilian fir, Barbarichina columbine, sea marigold, lavender cotton, and Eucriana violet. Italy has many botanical and historic gardens. It influenced the history of gardening, especially French and English gardens. Roman and Italian Renaissance gardens influenced the Italian garden. The Italian wolf is the national animal of Italy, while the national tree is the strawberry tree. The reasons for this is because Italian wolf inhabits Apennine Mountains and Western Alps, features prominently in Latin and Italian cultures, such as the legend of the founding of Rome, while the green leaves, white flowers, and red berries of the strawberry tree, native to the Mediterranean, recall the colors of the flag. The national bird is the Italian sparrow, while the national flower is the flower of the strawberry tree. Environment. The total area protected by national parks, regional parks, and nature reserves covers about 11% of Italian territory, and 12% of Italy's coastline is protected. The country operated nuclear reactors between 1963 and 1990, but after Chernobyl disaster and referendums, nuclear program was terminated, a decision overturned by the government in 2008, with plans to build up to 4 nuclear power plants. This was struck down by a referendum following the Fukushima nuclear accident. Population. Italy has a population of 58,968,501 as at 2024. The most densely populated areas are Po Valley, almost half the population, and the metropolitan areas of Rome and Naples, while vast regions such as Alps and Apennine highlands, plateaus of Basilicata and island of Sardinia as well as Sicily are sparsely populated. In 2021, Italy had about 5.2 million foreign residents, making up 9% of the population. The figures include more than 500,000 children born in Italy to foreign nationals, but exclude foreign nationals who have subsequently acquired Italian citizenship. In 2016, about 201,000 people became Italian citizens. The official figures also exclude illegal immigrants, which was estimated to be 670,000 as of 2008. About 1 million Romanian citizens are registered as living in Italy, representing the largest migrant population. Language. Italy's official language is Italian. An estimated 64 million native Italian speakers around the world and another 21 million use it as a second language. Italian is often natively spoken as a regional dialect, not to be confused with Italy's regional and minority languages. However, during the 20th century, establishment of a national education system led to a decrease in regional dialects. Standardization was further expanded in the 1950s and 1960s due to economic growth and the rise of mass media and television. 12 historical minority languages are formally recognized: Albanian, Catalan, German, Greek, Slovene, Croatian, French, Franco-Provençal, Friulian, Ladine, Occitan and Sardinian. 4 of these enjoy co-official status in their respective regions: French in the Aosta Valley, German in South Tyrol and Ladine as well in some parts of the same province and in parts of the neighboring Trentino, and Slovene in the provinces of Trieste, Gorizia and Udine. Religion. The Holy See, the episcopal jurisdiction of Rome, contains the government of Vatican City and the worldwide Catholic Church. It is recognized as a sovereign entity, headed by the Pope, who is also the Bishop of Rome, with which diplomatic relations can be maintained. Although historically dominated by Catholicism, religiosity in Italy is declining. Most Catholics are nominal. The Associated Press describes Italian Catholicism as nominally embraced but rarely lived. Italy has the world's 5th largest Catholic population and the largest in Europe. Since 1985, Catholicism is no longer the official religion. In 2011, minority Christian faiths included an estimated 1.5 million Orthodox Christians. Protestantism has been growing. Italy has for centuries welcomed Jews expelled from other countries, notably Spain. However, about 20% of Italian Jews were killed during the Holocaust. This, together with emigration before and after World War II, has left around 28,000 Jews. There are 120,000 Hindus and 70,000 Sikhs. The state devolves shares of income tax to recognized religious communities under a regime known as 8 per thousand. Donations are allowed to Christian, Jewish, Buddhist and Hindu communities. However, Islam remains excluded as no Muslim communities have signed a concordat. Taxpayers who do not wish to fund a religion contribute their share to the welfare system. Education. Education is mandatory and free from ages 6 to 16 and consists of 5 stages: kindergarten, primary school, lower secondary school, upper secondary school and university. Health. Life expectancy is 80 for men and 85 for women, placing the country 5th in the world. Compared to other Western countries, Italy has a low rate of adult obesity, below 10%, as there are health benefits of the Mediterranean diet. Since 2005, smoking in public places has been restricted to specially ventilated rooms. Since 1978, the state has run a universal public healthcare system. However, a mixed public-private system provides healthcare to all citizens and residents. Automotive industry. The country boasts a wide range of products, from city cars to luxury supercars such as Maserati, Pagani, Lamborghini and Ferrari. Banking. Banca Monte dei Paschi di Siena is the world's oldest or second oldest bank in continuous operation, depending on the definition, and the 4th largest Italian commercial and retail bank. Agriculture. According to the last agricultural census, there were 1.6 million farms in 2010 covering 12,700,000 hectares, 63% are in South Italy. 99% are family-operated and small, averaging only 8 hectares. Of the area in agricultural use, grain fields take up 31%, olive orchards 8%, vineyards 5%, citrus orchards 4%, sugar beets 2%, and horticulture 2%. The remainder is dedicated to pastures, 26%, and feed grains, 12%. Italy is the world's largest wine producer and a leading producer of olive oil, fruits, apples, olives, grapes, oranges, lemons, pears, apricots, hazelnuts, peaches, cherries, plums, strawberries, kiwi fruits, and vegetables, especially artichokes and tomatoes. The most famous Italian wines are the Tuscan Chianti and the Piedmontese Barolo. Other famous wines are Barbaresco, Barbera di Asti, Brunello di Montalcino, Frascati, Montepulciano di Abruzzo, Morellino di Scanzano, and the sparkling wines Franciacorta and Prosecco. Quality goods in which Italy specializes, particularly wines and regional cheeses, are often protected under the quality assurance labels DOC/DOP. This geographical indication certificate, accredited by the EU, is considered important to avoid confusion with ersatz goods. Transport. Italy was the first country to build motorways, the autostrade, reserved for fast traffic and motor vehicles. In 2022, there were 45 civil airports including the hubs of Milan Malpensa Airport and Rome Fiumicino Airport. Since 2021, Italy's flag carrier has been ITA Airways, which took over from Alitalia. Science and technology. Italy has fostered a scientific community that produced major scientific discoveries through the centuries. Galileo Galilei played a major role in the scientific revolution and is considered the father of observational astronomy, modern physics, and the scientific method. The Laboratory Nazionale del Gran Sasso is the largest underground research center in the world. Tourism. People have visited Italy for centuries, yet the first to visit the peninsula for tourism were aristocrats during the Grand Tour, which began in the 17th century and flourished in 18th and 19th centuries. This period was when European aristocrats, many of whom were British, visited parts of Europe, with Italy as a key destination. For Italy, this was in order to study ancient architecture, local culture, and admire its natural beauty. Italy is the fourth most visited country with a total of 57 million arrivals in 2023. In 2014, the income from travel and tourism was €163 billion, 10% of GDP, and 1,082,000 jobs were directly related to it, 5% of employment. Tourist interest is mainly in culture, cuisine, history, architecture, art, religious sites and routes, wedding tourism, naturalistic beauties, nightlife, underwater sites, and spas. Winter and summer tourism are present in locations in the Alps and the Apennines, while seaside tourism is widespread along Mediterranean. Italy is the leading cruise tourism destination in the Mediterranean. Small, historical, and artistic villages are promoted through the association I Borghi Più Belli d'Italia, the most beautiful villages of Italy. The most visited regions are Veneto, Tuscany, Lombardy, Emilia-Romagna, and Lazio. Rome is the third most visited city in Europe and 12th in the world with 9.4 million arrivals in 2017. Venice and Florence are among the world's top 100 destinations. Italy has the most World Heritage Sites totaling 59, 53 cultural and 6 natural. Architecture. Italy is known for its architectural achievements such as the construction of arches, domes, and similar structures by ancient Rome, the founding of the Renaissance architectural movement in the late 14th to 16th centuries, and as the home of Palladianism, a style that inspired movements such as neoclassical architecture and influenced designs of country houses all over the world, notably in the UK and US during the late 17th to early 20th centuries. Italian architecture significantly evolved during the Renaissance. Filippo Brunelleschi contributed to architectural design with his dome for the Cathedral of Florence, a feat of engineering not seen since antiquity. A popular achievement of Italian Renaissance architecture was St. Peter's Basilica, designed by Donato Bramante in the early 16th century. Andrea Palladio influenced architects throughout Western Europe with the villas and palaces he designed. The Baroque period produced outstanding Italian architects. The most original work of late Baroque and Rococo architecture is the Palazzina di Caccia of Stupinigi. Luigi Vanvitelli, in 1752, began the construction of the Royal Palace of Caserta. In late 18th and early 19th centuries, Italy was influenced by the neoclassical architectural movement. Villas, palaces, gardens, interiors, and art began to be based on ancient Roman and Greek themes. Visual art. The history of Italian visual arts is significant to Western painting. Roman art was influenced by Greece and can be taken as a descendant of ancient Greek painting. The only surviving Roman paintings are wall paintings. These may contain the first examples of trompe l'oeil, pseudo-perspective, and pure landscape. The Italian Renaissance is considered to be the golden age of painting, spanning from the 14th through the mid-17th centuries and having significant influence outside Italy. Artists such as Masaccio, Filippo Lippi, Tintoretto, Sandro Botticelli, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Titian took painting to a higher level through the use of perspective. Michelangelo was active as a sculptor, and his works include his David, Pietà, and Moses. In the 15th and 16th centuries, the High Renaissance gave rise to a stylized art known as Mannerism. In place of the balanced compositions and rational approach to perspective that characterized art at the dawn of the 16th century, the Mannerists sought instability, artifice, and doubt. The unperturbed faces and gestures of Piero della Francesca and the calm virgins of Raphael were replaced by the troubled expressions of Pontormo and emotional intensity of El Greco. In the 17th century, among the greatest painters of Italian Baroque are Caravaggio, Artemisia Gentileschi, Carlo Saraceni, and Bartolomeo Manfredi. In the 18th century, Italian Rococo was mainly inspired by French Rococo. Italian neoclassical sculpture focused, with Antonio Canova's nudes, on the idealist aspect of the movement. In the 19th century, Romantic painters included Francesco Hayez and Francesco Podesti. Impressionism was brought from France to Italy by the Macchiaioli, Realism by Gioacchino Toma and Giuseppe Palizza da Volpido. In the 20th century, with Futurism, Italy rose again as a seminal country for evolution in painting and sculpture. Futurism was succeeded by the metaphysical paintings of Giorgio de Chirico, who exerted an influence on the Surrealists. Literature. Formal Latin literature began in 240 BC when the first stage play was performed in Rome. The Romans were famous for their oral tradition, poetry, drama, and epigrams. In the early 13th century, Francis of Assisi was the first Italian poet with his religious song Canticle of the Sun. Theatre. Ballet originated in Italy during the Renaissance as an outgrowth of court pageantry. Music. From folk to classical, music is an intrinsic part of Italian culture. Instruments associated with classical music, including the piano and violin, were invented in Italy, and many prevailing forms, such as the symphony, concerto, and sonata, trace their roots back to innovations in 16th and 17th century Italian music. Italy's most famous composers include the Renaissance Palestrina, Monteverdi, and Gesualdo, the Baroque Scarlatti, and Vivaldi, the classical Paganini and Rossini, and the Romantic Verdi and Puccini. Classical music has a strong hold in Italy, as evidenced by the fame of its opera houses such as La Scala and performers such as the pianist Maurizio Pollini and tenor Luciano Pavarotti. Italy is known as the birthplace of opera. Italian opera is believed to have been founded in the 17th century. Introduced in the early 1920s, jazz gained a strong foothold in Italy and remained popular despite xenophobic policies of the fascists. Italy was represented in the progressive rock and pop movements of the 1970s, with bands such as PFM, Banco del Mutuo Soccorso, La Ormi, Goblin, and Pooh. The same period saw diversification in the cinema of Italy, and Cinecittà films included complex scores by composers including Ennio Morricone. In the 1980s, the first star to emerge from Italian hip-hop was singer Jovanotti. Italian metal bands include Rhapsody of Fire, Lacuna Coil, Elven King, Forgotten Tomb, and Flesh God Apocalypse. Italy contributed to the development of disco and electronic music with Italo Disco, known for its futuristic sound and prominent use of synthesizers and drum machines, one of the earliest electronic dance genres. Producers such as Giorgio Moroder, who won 3 Academy Awards and 4 Golden Globes, were influential in the development of electronic dance music. Italian pop is represented annually with the Sanremo Music Festival, which served as inspiration for the Eurovision Song Contest. Gigliola Cinquetti, Toto Cutugno, and Maneskin won Eurovision in 1964, 1990 and 2021 respectively. Singers such as Domenico Modugno, Mina, Andrea Bocelli, Raffaella Corra, Illinois Volo, Albano, Toto Cutugno, Neck, Umberto Tozzi, Georgia, Grammy winner Laura Pausini, Eros Ramazzotti, Tiziano Ferro, Maneskin, Mahmood, Golly have received international acclaim. Sport. The most popular sport is football. Italy's team is one of the most successful with 4 World Cup victories, 1934, 1938, 1982 and 2006, and 2 UEFA Euro victories, 1968 and 2020. Italian clubs have won 48 major European trophies, making Italy the second most successful country in Europe, after Spain. Other popular team sports include basketball, volleyball, and rugby. Among individual sports, bicycle racing is popular. Italians have won UCI World Championships more than any other country, except Belgium. The Giro d'Italia is a cycling race held every May and one of the 3 Grand Tours. Alpine skiing is a widespread sport and the country is a popular skiing destination. Italian skiers achieve good results in Winter Olympic Games and the Alpine Ski World Cup. Tennis has a significant following, the 4th most practiced sport. The Rome Masters, founded in 1930, is one of the most prestigious tennis tournaments. Motorsports are popular. Italy has won, by far, the most MotoGP World Championships. Italian Scuderia Ferrari is the oldest surviving team in Grand Prix racing, competing since 1948 and the most successful Formula One team with 232 wins. The Italian Grand Prix of Formula One has been held since 1921, always at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, except 1980. Other successful Italian car manufacturers in motorsports are Alfa Romeo, Lancia, Maserati, and Fiat. Italy has been successful in the Olympics, taking part from the first Olympiad and in 47 games out of 48, not 1904. Italians have won 618 medals at the Summer Olympic Games and 141 at the Winter Olympics, with 259 golds, the 6th most successful for total medals. The country hosted Winter Olympics in 1956 and 2006 and will host another in 2026 and a Summer Games in 1960. Fashion and design. Italian fashion has a long tradition. Top Global Fashion Capital Rankings, 2013, by Global Language Monitor, ranked Rome 6th and Milan 12th. Major Italian fashion labels such as Gucci, Armani, Prada, Versace, Valentino, Dolce & Gabbana are among the finest fashion houses in the world. Jewelers such as Bulgari, Domioni, and Buccellati were founded in Italy. The fashion magazine Vogue Italia is one of the most prestigious fashion magazines in the world. Italy is prominent in the field of design, notably interior, architectural, industrial and urban designs. Milan and Turin are the nation's leaders in architectural and industrial design. The city of Milan hosts Fiera Milano, Europe's largest design fair. Milan hosts major design and architecture-related events and venues, such as Fiori Salone and Milan Furniture Fair, and has been home to the designers Bruno Munari, Lucio Fontana, Enrico Castelloni, and Piero Manzoni. Cuisine. Italian cuisine is heavily influenced by Etruscan, Ancient Greek, Ancient Roman, Byzantine, Arabic, and Jewish cuisines. Significant changes occurred with the discovery of the New World, with items such as potatoes, tomatoes, and maize becoming main ingredients from the 18th century. The Mediterranean diet forms the basis of Italian cuisine, which is rich in pasta, fish, fruits, and vegetables and characterized by its simplicity and variety, with many dishes having only 4 to 8 ingredients. Italian cuisine is noted for its regional diversity, abundance of difference in taste, and as one of the most popular in the world, wielding strong influence abroad. Italian cuisine relies heavily on traditional products. The country has traditional specialties protected under EU law. Cheese, cold cuts, and wine are central to Italian cuisine, with regional declinations and protected designation of origin or protected geographical indication labels, along with pizza and coffee forming part of gastronomic culture. Desserts have a long tradition of merging local flavors, such as citrus fruits, pistachio, and almonds, with sweet cheeses such as mascarpone and ricotta, or exotic tastes such as cocoa, vanilla, and cinnamon. Gelato, tiramisu, and cassata are among the most famous examples of Italian desserts. The Italian meal structure is typical of the Mediterranean region and differs from North, Central, and East European meal structures, although it still often consists of breakfast, colazione, lunch, pranzo, and dinner, cena. However, much less emphasis is placed on breakfast, which is often skipped or involves lighter portions than are seen in non-Mediterranean Western countries. Late morning and mid-afternoon snacks called merenda are often included. Festivals and folklore. Public holidays include religious, national, and regional observances. Italy's national day, Festa della Repubblica, is celebrated on the 2nd of June, with the main celebration taking place in Rome and commemorates the birth of the Italian Republic in 1946. The ceremony includes deposition of a wreath as a tribute to the Italian unknown soldier and a military parade along Via dei Fori Imperiali in Rome. St. Lucy's Day, on the 13th of December, is popular among children in some Italian regions, where she plays a role similar to Santa Claus. The Epiphany is associated with the folklore figure of Befana, a broomstick-riding old woman who, on the night of the 5th of January, brings good children gifts and bad ones charcoal or bags of ashes. The Assumption of Mary coincides with Ferragosto on the 15th of August, the summer vacation period. The Italian National Patronal Day, on the 4th of October, celebrates Saints Francis and Catherine. Each city or town also celebrates a public holiday on the festival of the local patron saint. Festivals and festivities include the Palio di Siena horse race, Holy Week rites, Saracen Joust of Arezzo, and the Calcio Storico Fiorentino. In 2013, UNESCO included among the intangible cultural heritage Italian festivals and passos, such as the Varia di Parmi, the Macchina di Santa Rosa in Viterbo, and Ferrada di Le Candareri in Sassari. Other festivals include carnivals in Venice, Viareggio, Satriano di Lucania, Mamoiada, and Ivrea. The Venice Film Festival, awarding the Golden Lion and held since 1932, is the oldest in the world and one of the big three European film festivals, alongside Cannes and Berlin. Rome. Rome is the capital city of Italy. It is also the capital of the Lazio region, the center of the metropolitan city of Rome capital, and a special municipality, named Comune di Roma Capitale. With 2,860,009 residents in 1,285 kilometers square, Rome is the country's most populated commune and the third most populous city in the European Union by population within city limits. The metropolitan city of Rome, with a population of 4,355,725 residents, is the most populous metropolitan city in Italy. Its metropolitan area is the third most populous within Italy. Rome is located in the central western portion of the Italian peninsula within Lazio, along the shores of the Tiber Valley. Vatican City, the smallest country in the world and headquarters of the worldwide Catholic Church under the governance of the Holy See, is an independent country inside the city boundaries of Rome, the only existing example of a country within a city. Rome is often referred to as the City of Seven Hills due to its geographic location, and also as the Eternal City. Rome is generally considered to be the cradle of Western civilization and Western Christian culture and the center of the Catholic Church. Rome's history spans 28 centuries. While Roman mythology dates the founding of Rome at around 753 BC, the site has been inhabited for much longer, making it a major human settlement for over 3 millennia and one of the oldest continuously occupied cities in Europe. The city's early population originated from a mix of Latins, Etruscans, and Sabines. Eventually, the city successively became the capital of the Roman Kingdom, the Roman Republic, and the Roman Empire, and is regarded by many as the first ever imperial city and metropolis. It was first called the Eternal City by the Roman poet Tibullus in the 1st century BC, and the expression was also taken up by Ovid, Virgil, and Livy. Rome is also called Caput Mundi, capital of the world. After the fall of the empire in the West, which marked the beginning of the Middle Ages, Rome slowly fell under the political control of the papacy, and in the 8th century, it became the capital of the Papal States, which lasted until 1870. Beginning with the Renaissance, almost all popes since Nicholas V, 1447 to 1455, pursued a coherent architectural and urban program over 400 years, aimed at making the city the artistic and cultural center of the world. In this way, Rome first became one of the major centers of the Renaissance and then became the birthplace of both the Baroque style and Neoclassicism. Famous artists, painters, sculptors, and architects made Rome the center of their activity, creating masterpieces throughout the city. In 1871, Rome became the capital of the Kingdom of Italy, which in 1946 became the Italian Republic. In 2019, Rome was the 14th most visited city in the world, with 8.6 million tourists, the third most visited city in the European Union and the most popular tourist destination in Italy. Its historic center is listed by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. The host city for the 1960 Summer Olympics, Rome is also the seat of several specialized agencies of the United Nations, such as the Food and Agriculture Organization, the World Food Programme, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development. The city also hosts the Secretariat of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Union for the Mediterranean, as well as the headquarters of many multinational companies such as Eni, Enel, TIM, Leonardo, and banks such as BNL. Numerous companies are based within Rome's EUR business district, such as the luxury fashion house Fendi located in the Palazzo della Civiltà Italiana. The presence of renowned international brands in the city has made Rome an important center of fashion and design, and the Cinecittà studios have been the set of many Academy Award-winning movies. While there have been discoveries of archaeological evidence of human occupation of the Rome area from approximately 14,000 years ago, the dense layer of much younger debris obscures Paleolithic and Neolithic sites. Evidence of stone tools, pottery, and stone weapons attest to about 10,000 years of human presence. Several excavations support the view that Rome grew from pastoral settlements on the Palatine Hill built above the area of the future Roman Forum. Between the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Iron Age, each hill between the sea and the Capitoline Hill was topped by a village. On the Capitoline, a village is attested since the end of the 14th century BC. However, none of them yet had an urban quality. Nowadays, there is a wide consensus that the city developed gradually through the aggregation, syncretism, of several villages around the largest one, placed above the Palatine. This aggregation was facilitated by the increase of agricultural productivity above the subsistence level, which also allowed the establishment of secondary and tertiary activities. These, in turn, boosted the development of trade with the Greek colonies of southern Italy, mainly Ischia and Cumae. These developments, which according to archaeological evidence took place during the mid-8th century BC, can be considered as the birth of the city. Despite recent excavations at the Palatine Hill, the view that Rome was founded deliberately in the middle of the 8th century BC, as the legend of Romulus suggests, remains a fringe hypothesis. Legend of the founding of Rome. Traditional stories handed down by the ancient Romans themselves explain the earliest history of their city in terms of legend and myth. The most familiar of these myths, and perhaps the most famous of all Roman myths, is the story of Romulus and Remus, the twins who were suckled by a she-wolf. They decided to build a city, but after an argument, Romulus killed his brother and the city took his name. According to the Roman annalists, this happened on the 21st of April 753 BC. This legend had to be reconciled with a dual tradition, set earlier in time, that had the Trojan refugee Aeneas escape to Italy and found the line of Romans through his son Iulus, the namesake of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. This was accomplished by the Roman poet Virgil in the 1st century BC. In addition, Strabo mentions an older story that the city was an Arcadian colony founded by Evander. Strabo also writes that Lucius Caelius Antipater believed that Rome was founded by Greeks. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in AD 476, Rome was first under the control of Odoacer and then became part of the Ostrogothic kingdom before returning to East Roman control after the Gothic War, which devastated the city in 546 and 550. Its population declined from more than 1 million in AD 210 to 500,000 in AD 273 to 35,000 after the Gothic War, 535 to 554, reducing the sprawling city to groups of inhabited buildings interspersed among large areas of ruins, vegetation, vineyards, and market gardens. It is generally thought the population of the city until AD 300 was 1 million. The Bishop of Rome, called the Pope, was important since the early days of Christianity because of the martyrdom of both the apostles Peter and Paul there. The bishops of Rome were also seen, and still are seen by Catholics, as the successors of Peter, who is considered the first bishop of Rome. The city thus became of increasing importance as the center of the Catholic Church. After the Lombard invasion of Italy, 569 to 572, the city remained nominally Byzantine, but in reality, the popes pursued a policy of equilibrium between the Byzantines, the Franks, and the Lombards. In 729, the Lombard king Liutprand donated the North Latium town of Sutri to the church, starting its temporal power. In 756, Pepin the Short, after having defeated the Lombards, gave the Pope temporal jurisdiction over the Roman Duchy and the Exarchate of Ravenna, thus creating the Papal States. Since this period, three powers tried to rule the city: the Pope, the nobility, together with the chiefs of militias, the judges, the Senate and the populace, and the Frankish king, as king of the Lombards, patricius, and emperor. These three parties, theocratic, republican, and imperial, were a characteristic of Roman life during the entire Middle Ages. On Christmas night of 800, Charlemagne was crowned in Rome as emperor by Pope Leo III. On that occasion, the city hosted for the first time the two powers whose struggle for control was to be a constant of the Middle Ages. This event marks the beginning of the Carolingian Empire, the first phase of the Holy Roman Empire. In 846, Muslim Arabs unsuccessfully stormed the city's walls, but managed to loot St. Peter's and St. Paul's Basilica, both outside the city wall. After the decay of Carolingian power, Rome fell prey to feudal chaos. Several noble families fought against the Pope, the Emperor, and each other. These were the times of Theodora and her daughter Marozia, concubines and mothers of several popes, and of Crescentius, a powerful feudal lord, who fought against the emperors Otto II and Otto III. The scandals of this period forced the papacy to reform itself. The election of the Pope was reserved to the cardinals, and reform of the clergy was attempted. The driving force behind this renewal was the monk Ildebrando da Soana, who once elected Pope under the name of Gregory VII became involved into the investiture controversy against Emperor Henry IV. Subsequently, Rome was sacked and burned by the Normans under Robert Guiscard, who had entered the city in support of the Pope, then besieged in Castel Sant'Angelo. During this period, the city was autonomously ruled by a senator or patrizio. In the 12th century, this administration, like other European cities, evolved into the commune, a new form of social organization controlled by the new wealthy classes. Pope Lucius II fought against the Roman commune, and the struggle was continued by his successor Pope Eugenius III. By this stage, the commune, allied with the aristocracy, was supported by Arnaldo da Brescia, a monk who was a religious and social reformer. After the Pope's death, Arnaldo was taken prisoner by Adrianus IV, which marked the end of the commune's autonomy. Under Pope Innocent III, whose reign marked the apogee of the papacy, the commune liquidated the Senate, and replaced it with a senator, who was subject to the Pope. In this period, the papacy played a role of secular importance in Western Europe, often acting as arbitrators between Christian monarchs and exercising additional political powers. In 1266, Charles of Anjou, who was heading south to fight the Hohenstaufen on behalf of the Pope, was appointed senator. Charles founded the Sapienza, the University of Rome. In that period the Pope died, and the cardinals, summoned in Viterbo, could not agree on his successor. This angered the people of the city, who then unroofed the building where they met and imprisoned them until they had nominated the new Pope. This marked the birth of the conclave. In this period the city was also shattered by continuous fights between the aristocratic families. Annibaldi, Kitani, Colonna, Orsini, Conti, nested in their fortresses built above ancient Roman edifices, fought each other to control the papacy. Pope Boniface VIII, born Kitani, was the last pope to fight for the Church's universal domain. he proclaimed a crusade against the Colonna family and, in 1300, called for the first Jubilee of Christianity, which brought millions of pilgrims to Rome. However, his hopes were crushed by the French king Philip the Fair, who took him prisoner and held him hostage for 3 days at Anagni. The Pope was able to return to Rome, but died a month later, it was said of shock and grief. Afterwards, a new pope faithful to the French was elected, and the papacy was briefly relocated to Avignon, 1309 to 1377. During this period Rome was neglected, until a plebeian man, Cola di Rienzo, came to power. An idealist and a lover of ancient Rome, Cola dreamed about a rebirth of the Roman Empire. After assuming power with the title of Tribuno, his reforms were rejected by the populace. Forced to flee, Cola returned as part of the entourage of Cardinal Albornoz, who was charged with restoring the church's power in Italy. Back in power for a short time, Cola was soon lynched by the populace, and Albornoz took possession of the city. In 1377, Rome became the seat of the papacy again under Gregory XI. The return of the Pope to Rome in that year unleashed the Western Schism, 1377 to 1418, and for the next 40 years, the city was affected by the divisions which rocked the church. The rule of the popes was interrupted by the short-lived Roman Republic, 1798 to 1800, which was established under the influence of the French Revolution. The Papal States were restored in June 1800, but during Napoleon's reign Rome was annexed as a department of the French Empire, first as Department du Tibre, 1808 to 1810, and then as Department Rome, 1810 to 1814. After the fall of Napoleon, the Papal States were reconstituted by a decision of the Congress of Vienna of 1814. In 1849, a Second Roman Republic was proclaimed during a year of revolutions in 1848. Two of the most influential figures of the Italian unification, Giuseppe Mazzini and Giuseppe Garibaldi, fought for the short-lived republic. Rome then became the focus of hopes of Italian reunification after the rest of Italy was united as the Kingdom of Italy in 1861 with the temporary capital in Florence. That year Rome was declared the capital of Italy even though it was still under the Pope's control. During the 1860s, the last vestiges of the Papal States were under French protection thanks to the foreign policy of Napoleon III. French troops were stationed in the region under Papal control. In 1870, the French troops were withdrawn due to the outbreak of the Franco-Prussian War. Italian troops were able to capture Rome entering the city through a breach near Porta Pia. Pope Pius IX declared himself a prisoner in the Vatican. In 1871, the capital of Italy was moved from Florence to Rome. In 1870, the population of the city was 212,000, all of whom lived with the area circumscribed by the ancient city, and in 1920, the population was 660,000. A significant portion lived outside the walls in the north and across the Tiber in the Vatican area. Soon after World War I in late 1922, Rome witnessed the rise of Italian fascism led by Benito Mussolini, who led a march on the city. He did away with democracy by 1926, eventually declaring a new Italian empire and allying Italy with Nazi Germany in 1938. Mussolini demolished fairly large parts of the city centre in order to build wide avenues and squares which were supposed to celebrate the fascist regime and the resurgence and glorification of classical Rome. The interwar period saw a rapid growth in the city's population, which surpassed 1 million inhabitants soon after 1930. During World War II, due to the art treasuries and the presence of the Vatican, Rome largely escaped the tragic destiny of other European cities. However, on the 19th of July 1943, the San Lorenzo district was subject to Allied bombing raids, resulting in about 3,000 fatalities and 11,000 injuries, of whom another 1,500 died. Mussolini was arrested on the 25th of July 1943. On the date of the Italian armistice, the 8th of September 1943, the city was occupied by the Germans. Allied bombing raids continued throughout 1943 and extended into 1944. Rome was liberated on the 4th of June 1944. Rome developed greatly after the war as part of the Italian economic miracle of post-war reconstruction and modernization in the 1950s and early 1960s. During this period, the years of La Dolce Vita, the sweet life, Rome became a fashionable city, with popular classic films such as Ben-Hur, Quo Vadis, Roman Holiday, and La Dolce Vita filmed in the city's iconic Cinecittà studios. The rising trend in population growth continued until the mid-1980s, when the commune had more than 2.8 million residents. After this, the population declined slowly as people began to move to nearby suburbs. Rome is in the Lazio region of central Italy on the Tiber River. The original settlement developed on hills that faced onto a ford beside the Tiber Island, the only natural ford of the river in this area. The Rome of the Kings was built on 7 hills: the Aventine Hill, the Caelian Hill, the Capitoline Hill, the Esquiline Hill, the Palatine Hill, the Quirinal Hill, and the Viminal Hill. Modern Rome is also crossed by another river, the Aeneane, which flows into the Tiber north of the historic center. Although the city center is about 24 kilometers inland from the Tyrrhenian Sea, the city territory extends to the shore, where the southwestern district of Ostia is located. The altitude of the central part of Rome ranges from 13 meters above sea level, at the base of the Pantheon, to 139 meters above sea level, the peak of Monte Mario. The commune of Rome covers an overall area of about 1,285 kilometers square, including many green areas. Public parks and nature reserves cover a large area in Rome, and the city has one of the largest areas of green space among European capitals. The most notable part of this green space is represented by the large number of villas and landscaped gardens created by the Italian aristocracy. While most of the parks surrounding the villas were destroyed during the building boom of the late 19th century, some of them remain. The most notable of these are the Villa Borghese, Villa Ada, and Villa Doria Pamphili. Villa Doria Pamphili is west of the Gianico Hill, comprising some 1.8 kilometers square. The Villa Ciara is on the hill, with playgrounds for children and shaded walking areas. In the nearby area of Trastevere, the Orto Botanico, Botanical Garden, is a cool and shady green space. The old Roman Hippodrome, Circus Maximus, is another large green space. It has few trees but is overlooked by the Palatine and the Rose Garden, Roseto Comunale. Nearby is the lush Villa Cellamontana, close to the gardens surrounding the baths of Caracalla. The Villa Borghese Garden is the best-known large green space in Rome, with famous art galleries among its shaded walks. Overlooking Piazza del Popolo and the Spanish Steps are the gardens of Pincio and Villa Medici. There is also a notable pine wood at Castelfusino, near Ostia. Rome also has a number of regional parks of much more recent origin, including the Pineto Regional Park and the Appian Way Regional Park. There are also nature reserves at Marsigliana and at Tenuta di Castel Porziano. Rome has a Mediterranean climate with hot, dry summers and mild, humid winters. Its average annual temperature is above 21 degrees Celsius during the day and 9 degrees Celsius at night. In the coldest month of January, the average temperature is 12.6 degrees Celsius during the day and 2.1 degrees Celsius at night. In the warmest month of August, the average temperature is 31.7 degrees Celsius during the day and 17.3 degrees Celsius at night. December, January, and February are the coldest months, with a daily mean temperature of approximately 8 degrees Celsius. Temperatures during these months generally vary between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius during the day and between 3 and 5 degrees Celsius at night, with colder or warmer spells occurring frequently. Snowfall is rare but not unheard of, with light snow or flurries occurring on some winters, generally without accumulation, and major snowfalls on a very rare occurrence. The most recent ones were in 2018, 2012, and 1986. The highest temperature ever recorded in Rome was 42.9 degrees Celsius on the 18th of July 2023. According to the 2011 statistics conducted by Istat, approximately 9.5% of the population consists of non-Italians. About half of the immigrant population consists of those of various other European origins, chiefly Romanian, Polish, Ukrainian and Albanian, numbering a combined total of 131,118 or 4.7% of the population. The remaining 4.8% are those with non-European origins, chiefly Filipinos, 26,933, Bangladeshis, 12,154, and Chinese, 10,283. The Esquilino Ryan, off Termini railway station, has evolved into a largely immigrant neighborhood. It is perceived as Rome's Chinatown. Immigrants from more than 100 different countries reside there. A commercial district, Esquilino contains restaurants featuring many kinds of international cuisine. There are wholesale clothes shops. Of the 1,300 or so commercial premises operating in the district, 800 are Chinese-owned, around 300 are run by immigrants from other countries around the world, 200 are owned by Italians. Much like the rest of Italy, Rome is predominantly Christian, and the city has been an important center of religion and pilgrimage for centuries, the base of the ancient Roman religion with the Pontifex Maximus and later the seat of the Vatican and the Pope. Before the arrival of the Christians in Rome, the Religio Romana, literally, the Roman religion, was the major religion of the city in classical antiquity. The first gods held sacred by the Romans were Jupiter, the Most High, and Mars, the god of war, and father of Rome's twin founders, Romulus and Remus, according to tradition. Other deities such as Vesta and Minerva were honored. Rome was also the base of several mystery cults, such as Mithraism. Later, after St. Peter and St. Paul were martyred in the city, and the first Christians began to arrive, Rome became Christian, and the old St. Peter's Basilica was constructed in 313 AD. Despite some interruptions, such as the Avignon papacy, Rome has for centuries been the home of the Roman Catholic Church and the Bishop of Rome, otherwise known as the Pope. Despite the fact that Rome is home to the Vatican City and St. Peter's Basilica, Rome's cathedral is the Archbasilica of St. John Lateran, in the southeast of the city centre. There are around 900 churches in Rome in total. Aside from the cathedral itself, some others to note include the Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore, the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls, the Basilica di San Clemente, San Carlo al Quattro Fontane, and the Church of the Gesù. There are also the ancient catacombs of Rome underneath the city. Numerous highly important religious educational institutions are also in Rome, such as the Pontifical Lateran University, Pontifical Biblical Institute, Pontifical Gregorian University, and Pontifical Oriental Institute. Since the end of the Roman Republic, Rome is also the center of an important Jewish community, which was once based in Trastevere, and later in the Roman ghetto. There lies also the major synagogue in Rome, the Tempio Maggiore. The territory of Vatican City is part of the Mons Vaticanus, Vatican Hill, and of the adjacent former Vatican Fields, where St. Peter's Basilica, the Apostolic Palace, the Sistine Chapel, and museums were built, along with various other buildings. The area was part of the Roman Raion of Borgo until 1929. Being separated from the city on the west bank of the Tiber, the area was a suburb that was protected by being included within the walls of Leo IV, later expanded by the current fortification walls of Paul III, Pius IV, and Urban VIII. When the Lateran Treaty of 1929 that created the Vatican State was being prepared, the boundaries of the proposed territory were influenced by the fact that much of it was all but enclosed by this loop. Rome has been a major Christian pilgrimage site since the Middle Ages. People from all over the Christian world visit Vatican City, within the city of Rome, the seat of the papacy. The city became a major pilgrimage site during the Middle Ages. Apart from brief periods as an independent city during the Middle Ages, Rome kept its status as papal capital and holy city for centuries, even when the papacy briefly relocated to Avignon, 1309 to 1377. Catholics believe that the Vatican is the last resting place of St. Peter. Pilgrimages to Rome can involve visits to many sites, both within Vatican City and in Italian territory. A popular stopping point is the Pilate's Stairs. These are, according to the Christian tradition, the steps that led up to the Praetorium of Pontius Pilate in Jerusalem, which Jesus Christ stood on during his passion on his way to trial. Rome is the national capital of Italy and is the seat of the Italian government. The official residences of the President of the Italian Republic and the Italian Prime Minister, the seats of both houses of the Italian Parliament and that of the Italian Constitutional Court are located in the historic centre. The state ministries are spread out around the city. These include the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is located in Palazzo della Farnesina near the Olympic Stadium. Among the global cities, Rome is unique in having two sovereign entities located entirely within its city limits: the Holy See, represented by the Vatican City-State, and the territorially smaller Sovereign Military Order of Malta. The Vatican is an enclave of the Italian capital city and a sovereign possession of the Holy See, which is the Diocese of Rome and the supreme government of the Roman Catholic Church. For this reason, Rome has sometimes been described as the capital of two states. Rome is the seat of the so-called Polo Romano, made up by three main international agencies of the United Nations: the Food and Agriculture Organization, the World Food Programme, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Rome today is one of the most important tourist destinations of the world due to the incalculable immensity of its archaeological and artistic treasures, as well as the charm of its unique traditions, beauty of its panoramic views, and majesty of its magnificent villas, parks. Among the most significant resources are the museums: Capitoline Museums, Vatican Museums, and Galleria Borghese, and others dedicated to modern and contemporary art, aqueducts, fountains, churches, palaces, historical buildings, monuments, and ruins of Roman Forum and catacombs. Rome is the third most visited city in the EU after London and Paris, and receives an average of 7 to 10 million tourists a year, which sometimes doubles on holy years. The Colosseum, 4 million tourists, and Vatican Museums, 4.2 million tourists, are the 39th and 37th respectively most visited places in the world. Rome is a major archaeological hub and one of the world's main centers of archaeological research. Numerous cultural and research institutes such as American Academy in Rome and the Swedish Institute at Rome. Rome contains numerous ancient sites including Forum Romanum, Trajan's Market, Trajan's Forum, Colosseum, and Pantheon. The Colosseum, arguably one of Rome's most iconic archaeological sites, is regarded as a wonder of the world. Rome contains a vast collection of art, sculpture, fountains, mosaics, frescoes, and paintings from different periods. Rome first became a major artistic center during ancient Rome, with forms of important Roman art such as architecture, painting, sculpture, and mosaic work. Metalwork, coin die and gem engraving, ivory carvings, figurine glass, pottery, and book illustrations are considered to be minor forms of Roman artwork. Rome later became a major center of Renaissance art since the Pope spent vast sums of money for the constructions of grandiose basilicas, palaces, piazzas, and public buildings. Rome became one of Europe's major centers of Renaissance artwork, second only to Florence, and able to compare to other major cities and cultural centers such as Paris and Venice. The city was affected greatly by Baroque, and Rome became home of numerous artists and architects such as Bernini, Caravaggio, Carracci, Borromini, and Cortona. In late 18th century and early 19th century, the city was one of the centers of grand tour when wealthy, young English and other European aristocrats visited the city to learn about ancient Roman culture, art, philosophy, and architecture. Rome hosted a great number of neoclassical and Rococo artists such as Panini and Bernardo Bellotto. Today, the city is a major artistic center with numerous art institutes and museums. Rome has a growing stock of contemporary and modern art and architecture. National Gallery of Modern Art has works by Bolla, Morandi, Pirandello, Corra, De Chirico, De Pisis, Guttuso, Fontana, Burri, Mostrioni, Turcato, Kandinsky, and Cézanne on permanent exhibition. 2010 saw the opening of Rome's newest Arts Foundation, a contemporary art and architecture gallery designed by acclaimed Iraqi architect Zaha Hadid. Known as MAXI, National Museum of 21st Century Arts, it restores a dilapidated area with striking modern architecture. MAXI features a campus dedicated to culture, experimental research laboratories, international exchange, and study and research. It is one of Rome's most ambitious modern architecture projects alongside Renzo Piano's Auditorium Parco della Musica and Massimiliano Fuxa's Rome Convention Center, Centro Congressi Italia EUR, in the EUR district, due to open in 2016. The convention center features a huge translucent container inside, which is suspended as steel and Teflon structure resembling a cloud, and which contains meeting rooms and an auditorium with two piazzas open to the neighborhood on either side. The architecture of Rome over the centuries has greatly developed from ancient Roman architecture to Italian modern and contemporary architecture. Rome was once the world's main epicenters of classical architecture, developing new forms such as the arch, the dome, and the vault. The Romanesque style in 11th, 12th, and 13th centuries was also widely used in Roman architecture, and later the city became one of the main centers of Renaissance and Baroque architecture. Rome's cityscape is also widely neoclassical and fascist in style. Rome is a city known for its numerous fountains, built in all different styles, from classical and medieval to Baroque and neoclassical. The city has had fountains for more than 2,000 years, and they provided drinking water and decorated the piazzas of Rome. During Roman Empire, in 98 AD, according to Sextus Julius Frontinus, the Roman consul who was named Curator Aquarum or Guardian of Water of the city, Rome had 9 aqueducts which fed 39 monumental fountains and 591 public basins, not counting the water supplied to imperial household, baths, and owners of private villas. Each of the major fountains was connected to 2 different aqueducts, in case one shut down for service. During 17th and 18th century, Roman popes reconstructed other degraded Roman aqueducts and built new display fountains to mark their termini, launching Golden Age of Roman fountain. The fountains of Rome, like paintings of Rubens, were expressions of new style of Baroque art. In these fountains, sculpture became the principal element, and the water was used simply to animate and decorate the sculptures. Like Baroque gardens, they are a visual representation of confidence and power. Rome is well known for its statues, in particular, the talking statues of Rome. These are usually ancient statues which have become popular soapboxes for political and social discussion and places for people to, often satirically, voice their opinions. There are 2 main talking statues, Pasquino and Marforio, yet there are 4 other noted ones, Illinois Barbuino, Madama Lucrezia, Illinois Facchino, and Abbot Luigi. Most of these statues are ancient Roman or classical, and most of them also depict mythical gods, ancient people, or legendary figures. Illinois Pasquino represents Menelaus, Abbot Luigi is an unknown Roman magistrate, Illinois Barbuino is supposed to be Silenus, Marforio represents Oceanus. Madama Lucrezia is a bust of Isis, and Illinois Facchino is the only non-Roman statue created in 1580 and not representing anyone in particular. Due to their status, they are often covered with placards or graffiti expressing political ideas and points of view. Other statues in the city which are not related to the talking statues include those of Ponte Sant'Angelo or several monuments scattered across the city, such as Giordano Bruno in Campo da Fiori. The city hosts 8 ancient Egyptian and 5 ancient Roman obelisks, together with a number of more modern obelisks. There was also formerly, until 2005, an ancient Ethiopian obelisk in Rome. The city contains some of obelisks in piazzas, such as in Piazza Navona, St. Peter's Square, Piazza Montecitorio, and Piazza del Popolo, and others in villas, thermae parks, and gardens, such as in Villa Cellamontana, the Baths of Diocletian, and the Pincian Hill. Moreover, the center of Rome hosts also Trajan's and Antonine Column, 2 ancient Roman columns with spiral relief. The column of Marcus Aurelius is located in Piazza Colonna, and it was built around 180 AD by Commodus in memory of his parents. The column of Marcus Aurelius was inspired by Trajan's column at Trajan's Forum, which is part of the Imperial Fora. The city of Rome contains numerous famous bridges which cross the Tiber. The only bridge to remain unaltered until today from the Classical Age is Ponte dei Quattro Capi, which connects Isola Tiberina with the left bank. The other surviving, albeit modified, ancient Roman bridges crossing the Tiber are Ponte Sestio, Ponte Sant'Angelo, and Ponte Milvio. Considering Ponte Nomentano, also built during ancient Rome which crosses Aenean, currently there are 5 ancient Roman bridges still remaining in the city. Other noteworthy bridges are Ponte Sisto, the first bridge built in Renaissance above Roman foundations, Ponte Rotto, actually the only remaining arch of ancient Ponce Emilius, collapsed during flood of 1598 and demolished at the end of 19th century, and Ponte Vittorio Emanuele II, a modern bridge connecting Corso Vittorio Emanuele and Borgo. Most of the city's public bridges were built in classical or Renaissance style, but also in Baroque, neoclassical and modern styles. According to Encyclopaedia Britannica, The finest ancient bridge remaining in Rome is Ponte Sant'Angelo, which was completed in 135 AD and was decorated with 10 statues of angels, designed by Bernini in 1688. Rome is also widely recognized as a world fashion capital. Although not as important as Milan, Rome is the fourth most important center for fashion in the world, according to the 2009 Global Language Monitor, after Milan, New York, and Paris, and beating London. Major luxury fashion houses and jewelry chains, such as Valentino, Bulgari, Fendi, Laura Biagiotti, Brioni, and Renato Balestra, are headquartered or were founded in the city. Also, other major labels, such as Gucci, Chanel, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, Armani, and Versace have luxury boutiques in Rome, primarily along its prestigious and upscale Via dei Condotti. Rome's cuisine has evolved through centuries and periods of social, cultural, and political changes. Rome became a major gastronomical center during the ancient age. Ancient Roman cuisine was highly influenced by ancient Greek culture, and after the empire's enormous expansion exposed Romans to many new, provincial culinary habits and cooking techniques. Later, during the Renaissance, Rome became well known as a center of high cuisine, since some of the best chefs of the time worked for the popes. Bartolomeo Scappi, who was a chef working for Pius IV, he acquired fame in 1570 when his cookbook opera Dell'arte del Cucinare was published. In the book he lists approximately 1,000 recipes of the Renaissance cuisine and describes cooking techniques and tools, giving the first known picture of a fork. A barchio alla romana. The testaccio, Rome's trade and slaughterhouse area, was often known as the belly or slaughterhouse of Rome, and was inhabited by butchers or vaccinari. The most common or ancient Roman cuisine included the fifth quarter. The old-fashioned coda alla vaccinara, oxtail cooked in the way of butchers, is still one of the city's most popular meals and is part of most of Rome's restaurants' menus. Lamb is also a very popular part of Roman cuisine and is often roasted with spices and herbs. In modern age, the city developed its own peculiar cuisine based on products of nearby Campania, as lamb and vegetables, globe artichokes are common. In parallel, Roman Jews present in the city since the 1st century BC developed their own cuisine, the Cucina Giudaico-Romanesca. Roman dishes include saltimbocca alla romana, a veal cutlet Roman style, topped with raw ham and sage and simmered with white wine and butter. Carciofi alla romana, artichokes Roman style, outer leaves removed, stuffed with mint, garlic, breadcrumbs, and braised. Carciofi alla Judia, artichokes fried in olive oil, typical of Roman Jewish cooking, outer leaves removed, stuffed with mint, garlic, breadcrumbs, and braised. Spaghetti alla carbonara, spaghetti with bacon, eggs and pecorino, and gnocchi di semolino alla romana, semolina dumpling Roman style. Rome hosts the Cinecittà Studios, the largest film and television production facility in continental Europe and the center of the Italian cinema, where many of today's biggest box office hits are filmed. The 99-acre studio complex is 9.0 kilometers from the center of Rome and is part of one of the biggest production communities in the world, second only to Hollywood, with well over 5,000 professionals from period costume makers to visual effects specialists. More than 3,000 productions have been made on its lot. Founded in 1937 by Benito Mussolini, the studios were bombed by the Western Allies during the Second World War. In the 1950s, Cinecittà was the filming location for several large American film productions and subsequently became the studio most closely associated with Federico Fellini. Today, Cinecittà is the only studio in the world with pre-production, production, and full post-production facilities on one lot, allowing directors and producers to walk in with their script and walk out with a completed film. Association football is the most popular sport in Rome, as in the rest of the country. The city hosted the final games of the 1934 and 1990 FIFA World Cup. The latter took place in the Stadio Olimpico, which is also the shared home stadium for local Serie A clubs SS Lazio, founded in 1900, and AS Roma, founded in 1927, whose rivalry in the Derby della Capitale has become a staple of Roman sports culture. Footballers who play for these teams and are also born in the city tend to become especially popular, as has been the case with players such as Francesco Totti and Daniele De Rossi, both for AS Roma, and Alessandro Nesta, for SS Lazio. Rome hosted the 1960 Summer Olympics, with great success, using many ancient sites such as the Villa Borghese and the Thermae of Caracalla as venues. For the Olympic Games, many new facilities were built, notably the new large Olympic Stadium, which was then enlarged and renewed to host several matches, and the final of the 1990 FIFA World Cup, the Stadio Flaminio, the Villaggio Olimpico, Olympic Village, created to host the athletes and redeveloped after the Games as a residential district, EC. Rome made a bid to host the 2020 Summer Olympics, but it was withdrawn. Rome is at the center of the radial network of roads that roughly follow the lines of the ancient Roman roads, which began at the Capitoline Hill and connected Rome with its empire. Today Rome is circled, at a distance of about 10 kilometers from the capital, by the ring road, the Grande Raccordo Anulare or GRA. Due to its location in the center of the Italian peninsula, Rome is the principal railway node for central Italy. Rome's main railway station, Termini, is one of the largest railway stations in Europe and the most heavily used in Italy, with around 400,000 travelers passing through every day. The second largest station in the city, Roma Tiburtina, has been redeveloped as a high-speed rail terminus. As well as frequent high-speed day trains to all major Italian cities, Rome is linked nightly by boat train sleeper services to Sicily and internationally by overnight sleeper services to Munich and Vienna. Rome is served by 3 airports. The Intercontinental Leonardo da Vinci International Airport, Italy's chief airport, is located in the nearby Fiumicino, southwest of Rome. The older Rome Ciampino Airport is a joint civilian and military airport. It is commonly referred to as Ciampino Airport, as it is located beside Ciampino, southeast of Rome. A third airport, the Rome Urbi Airport, is a small, low-traffic airport located about 6 kilometers north of the city center, which handles most helicopter and private flights. The main airport system of the city, composed of Fiumicino and Ciampino, with 32.8 million passengers transported in 2022, is the second busiest airport system in Italy. Although the city has its own quarter on the Mediterranean Sea, Lido di Ostia, this has only a marina and a small channel harbour for fishing boats. The main harbour, which serves Rome, is Port of Civitavecchia, located about 62 kilometers northwest of the city. The city suffers from traffic problems largely due to this radial street pattern, making it difficult for Romans to move easily from the vicinity of one of the radial roads to another without going into the historic centre or using the ring road. These problems are not helped by the limited size of Rome's metro system when compared to other cities of similar size. Rome has only 21 taxis for every 10,000 inhabitants, far below other major European cities. Chronic congestion caused by cars during the 1970s and 1980s led to restrictions being placed on vehicle access to the inner city centre during daylight hours. Areas where these restrictions apply are known as limited traffic zones, zona a traffico limitato. More recently, heavy nighttime traffic in Trastevere, Testaccio, and San Lorenzo has led to the creation of nighttime ZTLs in those districts. Conca di Oro Metro Station. A 3-line metro system called the Metropolitana operates in Rome. Construction on the first branch started in the 1930s. The line had been planned to quickly connect the main railway station with the newly planned E42 area in the southern suburbs, where 1942 the World Fair was supposed to be held. The event never took place because of war, but the area was later partly redesigned and renamed Esposizione Universale Roma in the 1950s to serve as a modern business district. The line was finally opened in 1955, and it is now the south part of the B line. The A line opened in 1980 from Ottaviano to Anagnina stations, later extended in stages, 1999 to 2000, to Battistini. In the 1990s, an extension of the B line was opened from Termini to Rebibbia. The A and B lines intersect at Roma Termini station. A new branch of the B line, B1, opened on the 13th of June 2012 after an estimated building cost of €500 million. B1 connects to Line B at Piazza Bologna and has 4 stations over a distance of 3.9 kilometers. A third line, the C line, is under construction with an estimated cost of €3 billion and will have 30 stations over a distance of 25.5 kilometers. It will partly replace the existing Termini Pantano rail line. It will feature full automated, driverless trains. The first section with 15 stations connecting Pantano with the quarter of Centocelle in the eastern part of the city opened on the 9th of November 2014. The end of the work was scheduled in 2015, but archaeological findings often delay underground construction work. A fourth line, D line, is also planned. It will have 22 stations over a distance of 20 kilometers. The first section was projected to open in 2015 and the final sections before 2035, but due to the city's financial crisis, the project has been put on hold. Above-ground public transport in Rome is made up of a bus, tram and urban train network, FR lines. The bus network has in excess of 350 bus lines and over 8,000 bus stops, whereas the more limited tram system has 39 kilometers of track and 192 stops. There are also trolleybuses.